This is Straight Talk with Atlanta native Greg Fann, the preacher man, and his sidekick Shanan Jones. Frank discussions of issues affecting the ATL, Fulton County, the state of Georgia, the nation, and around the world. And now, here they are, live and in living color, the team of Jones and Fann, the preacher man.
Well, welcome again to another edition of Straight Talk with yours truly, Greg Fann, the preacher man, and Shanan E.Jones.
How you doing, Bishop?
Hey, Shanan, you know I'm doing great, man. I'm feeling great and everything. Let me just tell you this, Bishop. When people watch this program, they you know, we always get comments from people in the street. The street committee always tell us. The street committee tell us how they enjoy the program and how we cut up and everything. But today you look extremely big.
You look extremely small. I don't know what this is.
I don't know. Maybe I didn't get my Wheaties this morning.
I'm blaming on the producer.
You would blame it on the producer. But anyway, we have a great show for you today. And it's definitely designed with you, our viewing audience, in mind. And we ask you to check us out. Subscribe to our channel, subscribe, and like us. Won't you do that? Subscribe, like us, hit the notification button so whenever we come on the air or on YouTube, you'll be able to see what we're talking about. And we talk about pertinent stuff, like today, Miss C, she's gonna come with church news and information, or just news. It don't have to be church news, just news and information. You might want to share it with us. You can just go out to Straight Talk, that's Straight Talk News 1362 at gmail.com. That's Straight Talk News at gmail 1362 at gmail.com. Straight Talk again.
People have been sending her real news.
Yeah, they have.
That fish fry stuff is not.
Oh man,
I
thought you was having one for your church this week.
I thought that people got the memo. What we did, we found out that don't help you build a church at all. Fish fries.
Not fish fries.
You know, fish fries. People, you wonder why church have been building fund for 30 years.
Because they keep having fish fries and chitlin dinners.
Why don't y'all start a fish restaurant? That might help you better.
It probably will. More than likely it will. But listen, that's 13Gmail at that's Straight Talk News 1362 at gmail.com. Now we have more exciting news for you and information. We're going to have Brother James Broom with Black History Facts, and today he's going to be talking about the late John Lewis. Now, you know, next week we're going to Selma. We got 6 buses going to Selma, Alabama on March the 6th, Bloody Sunday, commemorating the day when John Lewis, Hosea Williams, and many unnamed people were beaten on that bridge to give us the right to vote. And we know, Shannon, you and I know, because we've been talking about the filibuster, we've been talking about the insurrection, we've been talking about all these things. It's important to vote. We need to vote and register to vote like we never voted before. They want to filibuster and don't want to give us the People for the People Act. They don't want to give us the act that John Lewis wanted to change in terms of going back to these states like Georgia and other southern states that didn't want pre-clearance before they could change voters' laws. Well, listen. We are going back to Selma. We go back every year. The Reverend Albert E. Love, the late Reverend Albert E. Love, took us down there and exposed us to what happened in Selma. And we'll be touring other places. We'll go to the Legacy Museum also too. That's going to be on March the 6th. Now, if you'd like to go, and we still have a few more seats on the bus, but you got to do it quick. You got to do it quick. You can call 404. I'll give you Quintasha's number. Her name is Quintasha. Call Quinn. I'll put it up on the stream a little later on, and then you'll be able to call Quinn.
The only seats left are the one by the bathroom. That's all we got left.
Oh, man. That's
just like that. You know,
like
when you wait to the last minute like that. You know, you be the first one in there. You know, the first hour or two, that ain't so bad. But
help him, Jesus.
That 3rd, 4th, 5th hour, Doc, I'm telling you.
Help him, Jesus.
You don't want to be in that seat after that lunch stop.
Help him, Jesus. Help him, Jesus. Jesus, help him. Keep him near the cross. Please keep him near the cross. Well, listen, what we're going to do is we're going to get ready now, and we're going to go on now to listen to Miss C. And Miss C got something to say. I don't know what you got to say, but you got
I'm sure it's something I'm sure it's something good.
Yeah,
See, we ain't gonna draw blood. We're gonna be nice.
Oh, Lord have mercy, Lord have mercy, Miss C. Miss C, we're going to Miss C with nothing but straight talk news, and we'll be back on the other side, Shannon and I.
Hi, Miss C here with your 3-minute news blast. Hey, Greg. Hey, Shannon. Hope y'all are doing well today. Listen, before we begin, I just want to wish a happy birthday to someone who is so dynamic, someone who just brings light to everybody's life, someone who loves the Lord and is just an all-around good person. And they celebrated a birthday recently. And I just want you to know that that person really exists, someone who is truly, genuinely nice, even nice to Greg Fann. And that's moi. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. And many more. Okay. All right. So much for the birthday. And I want to wish everybody that was born in the month of February a happy birthday. Okay. All right. There will be a mass Poor People's and Low Wage Workers Assembly on June 18th. And you can get all the details by logging on to poorpeoplescampaign.org. That's poorpeoplescampaign.org to get all the information on the Poor People's and Low Wage Workers Assembly happening on June 18th. All right. You can tune in to the Decent and in Order show every second and fourth Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can listen to them live by logging on to statusnetwork.net. That's statusnetwork.net. And it's a call-in show. You can also call in to 470-251-4343. That's 470-251-4343 to listen in to the Decent and in Order show every second and fourth Sunday, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right. You can start your Sunday mornings off with the word heard live on atasteoftradition.com. That's atasteoftradition.com. At 10 a.m., you can hear the word brought by Bishop Kevin E. Clark. And at 10:30, you can tune in to Pastor Eva Connor, where you will have an encounter with the word. That's Sundays, 10 a.m., Bishop Kevin Clark, 10:30 a.m., Pastor Eva Connor. And that's on atasteoftradition.com. Now, if you'd like to broadcast your ministry on atasteoftradition.com, you can call 404-747-7148. All right, now listen, on the front of your screen there are some words that says subscribe. If you just click that button and subscribe to our channel and then like us, we certainly would appreciate it. And it would be a great help to us. And listen, if you'd like to have your news broadcast on Straight Talk News, just send it to me. Straight Talk News 1362 at gmail.com. That's Straight Talk News 1362 at gmail.com. Now, I'm real proud of myself. I didn't have a senior moment, and I didn't look down at my paper too much. Did I, Greg? Anyway, we'll see y'all next week, and have a nice week, okay?
Well, Miss C, Miss C, you know what? You do a pretty decent job, and we appreciate you. But you don't have to call my name every week. Every week you calling my name, Miss C. Now, enough is enough. You're doing a pretty decent job. But I'm going to call you when you ain't. When you're not. I'm going to call you, Miss C. What do you think about that, Shanan?
Well, Miss C, you're doing a wonderful job.
Because she ain't calling your
I
name.
want to thank you for the work that you're doing, compiling all of this news and giving it to our Straight Talk viewers. Thank you so much.
No, see, when she called your name the other week, you had something to say, but now you ain't got to say because she just called my name.
You're doing a wonderful job, Miss C. Just keep it up.
Well, listen, thank Brother Pickett. Excellent interview. Mm-hmm. Only the strong survivor talked about his child, rearing coming up as a child. His mother was killed, and how his father had to come and take over him and his sister and raise him. And how his strong grandmother had a praying life and prayed and kept him focused and rooted and grounded. And how, how as a kid, we can do things. We can go out and we do this, we do that. But yet, he was able to deal with the adversities that he was faced with as a kid. Losing a mother as a child and then seeing her being murdered, that's really something to wrap your hands and arms and mind around. It's really devastating. But check him out. Check his book out and check him out. He's open for lectures and coming to talk. Check him out. That's Preston Pickett, okay? All right, we're going to now go to Black History Fact with Brother James Broom, and he's going to be talking about the legend himself, the late Congressman John Lewis. And the Preacher Man, right here on Straight Talk with Black History Facts with Brother James Broom.
In recognition of Black History Month, Straight Talk will be honoring a man who was arrested over 40 times, was considered one of the Big Six of the Civil Rights Movement, and was the youngest speaker at the 1963 March on Washington. That man, the Honorable John Lewis. John Robert Lewis was born near Troy, Alabama on February 21st, 1940. He was the third of 10 children born to Eddie and Willie Mae Lewis, who grew to become a civil rights activist and icon and a renowned politician. He was a member of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, otherwise known as SNCC, and from 1963 to 1966 was its chairman. While at SNCC, John Lewis became one of the original 13 Freedom Riders. Now, they were a group of black and white students who rode on interstate buses in order to pressure the federal government to enforce the Supreme Court decision of 1960, which declared that segregated interstate bus travel was unconstitutional. John Lewis was considered one of the Big Six. That included Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, A. Philip Randolph of the AFL-CIO, Roy Wilkins of the NAACP, Whitney Young of the National Urban League, James Farmer of CORE, the Congress of Racial Equality, and John Lewis of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. These men and their organizations were responsible for organizing the 1963 March on Washington, to which John Lewis was the youngest speaker. John Lewis himself fulfilled many key roles in the civil rights movement, like in 1965 when he led the first march from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama, which included having to cross the Edmund Pettus Bridge, which resulted in John Lewis and many of the other marchers being attacked by Alabama police and state troopers. This incident became known as Bloody Sunday. John Lewis was first elected to Congress in 1986 and served in the United States House of Representatives, and in 2003 became Senior Chief Deputy Whip. During his lifetime, John Lewis received many honorary degrees and awards, the most distinguished of which was the Presidential Medal of Freedom, given by then-President Barack Obama in 2011. John Lewis personally boycotted or protested the war in Iraq, the genocide in Darfur, and advocated for immigration reform. It was John Lewis who was pivotal in the establishment of the National Museum of African American History and Culture in Washington, D.C. John Lewis died July 17, 2020, of pancreatic cancer. He was 80 years old. And in his honor, on July 26th, his casket was horse-drawn across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And on July 27th and 28th, John Lewis would lie in state under the Capitol Rotunda becoming the first African American lawmaker to be so honored. That's John Lewis, a renowned civil rights leader and voting rights advocate, a U.S. congressman, and a great humanitarian who made a difference. You know, in time, they'll forget all about him, but we won't.
It's been Black History Facts with Brother James Broom right here on Straight Talk. Join us each and every Friday from 7 p.m. until 8 p.m. with yours truly, Greg Fann, the Preacher Man, and Shanan E.Jones. And do share these Black History Facts with your family and friend, and do tune in to Straight Talk. Won't you? It ain't nothing but straight talk.
Man, I'm telling you, John Lewis, just without words, a wonderful man, human being. I remember being at his home the morning that his wife had expired, and they were planning the funeral, and his chief of staff was saying that all of these people were going to be coming and that we had to have room and go through all these protocols. And I'm sitting in John Lewis's home, awards all over the house, all down the hallway, a room that's a trophy room. And he turned and looked at Michael, his longtime assistant, and he said, "I don't think all that's going to be necessary." He said, I don't think all those people would show up. And Michael looked at him and said, "John Lewis, you are an American treasure. Don't you know that?" Well, sure enough, there was not room enough to hold the audience of the Rising Sanctuary of Ebenezer Baptist Church. People came from high and low, and almost all of the leadership I know of the Congress, both Republican and Democrat, made their way in there. Lyndon Johnson's children were there that day, representing the LBJ and the LBJ family. There wasn't room enough. I mean, it was packed out, and it was a testament to the great freedom fighter that he was, both as an activist with SNCC and as an Atlanta City Council person and as a congressman. Bloody Sunday was certainly a continuation of our storied attack and barbaric treatment of us as a people. Bloody Sunday would have been a connection to that. We got to remember that slave ship and being taken from Africa and the hundreds million that died in the Atlantic Ocean that never made it out. That too is a part of that. So Bloody Sunday and the trajectory of what we have gone through. John Lewis on that bridge with Reverend Hosea Williams taking that need to pray and being attacked by both the Alabama State Police and the Sheriff's Department on horseback, violently attacking and doggedly determined not to let justice roll on and not to give us as a people the rights of our humanity.
We're tired of counting jelly beans. We're tired of counting bars of soap. We're tired. They were tired, and they fought, and we must continue to fight. Now we have one coming up just on the other side with Ms.Pam Moses, who are registering people to vote, and who was a convicted felon, but was told that she could now vote. But then, after voting, now they're telling her that she committed a fraud, and the judge sentenced her to 6 years in jail. And you'll see where there were other people who actually committed voter fraud in other states who were given sentences of probation and one elected official only 3 days. We'll be back on the other side. Don't you go nowhere. You stay right here with Shanan and I on Straight Talk.
What do these four people all have in common? You might recognize some of them, you might not. But what they do have in common is something pretty specific. All four of these men were all found guilty of committing voter fraud in the 2020 election. The gentleman in the upper left, he's a Republican from Nevada. His wife died several years ago. He nevertheless filled out her ballot and cast it in the presidential election. He then participated in efforts with the Nevada Republican Party to claim that his dead wife's ballot being cast in the election must mean there was mass voter fraud by Democrats. He is the one who cast his dead wife's ballot. He's a Republican. He got caught. He was sentenced to probation. That's the guy in the upper left. Guy in the upper right, he's a Republican elected official from Ohio. In his case, it was his father who died, and he cast his dead father's ballot in the 2020 election. That Ohio Republican official was sentenced to a grand total of 3 days in jail. Keep going clockwise. The gentleman on the lower right, he's from Pennsylvania. In his case, it was his mother who had died. He nevertheless cast her ballot for Donald Trump in the 2020 election. He was caught. He got probation. And then the last guy, lower left there, he's another Pennsylvania Republican whose mother also died. Apparently, he couldn't help himself. He cast a ballot in her name in the 2020 election. He got caught. He got probation. Now, this is Pamela Moses of Memphis, Tennessee. This week, Ms. Moses was also sentenced for a crime related to her efforts to vote in the 2020 election. Ms. Moses had a felony conviction in Tennessee that legally resulted in her not being allowed to vote again in that state. But she says that nobody ever told her that that particular conviction meant that she couldn't vote. And moreover, her county elections board never took her off the voter rolls. In 2019, when she discovered she had been declared ineligible to vote, she sought formally to have her voting rights restored. As part of her effort to do that, she went to the probation office and she asked them if she was off probation and eligible to have her voting rights restored. If so, could they please give her a certificate saying so, which she could submit with her voter registration application? Well, here's what happened next. This is from reporter April Thompson at WREG-TV in Memphis, Tennessee.
This application to have her voting rights restored was filled out for her and approved by the Department of Corrections officials on September 3, 2019. Staff from the Shelby County Election Commission even signed off on the application. Until this letter came, dated September 4, 2019, a day later, saying, wait a minute, they were wrong.
I relied on the election commission because those are the people who were supposed to know what, you're supposed to do.
See how crazy this is? The Department of Corrections signed off on her voting application. So did the County Election Commission. But apparently they screwed up, and technically she wasn't eligible after all. But for submitting that certificate that they screwed up and trying to register to vote, Pamela Moses was arrested and charged and convicted and is now sentenced to 6 years in prison for illegally trying to register to vote. The judge in her case, I'm not kidding, said in court that Pamela Moses tricked the probation department into giving her the certificate saying she was eligible to vote. Oh, she tricked them. She's a sorceress, maybe? What's the big difference between Pam Moses in Tennessee and all those other guys who actually cast illegal ballots in the name of relatives they definitely knew were dead? All of those guys got probation, in one case, 3 days in jail. She got 6 years in prison for trying to register to vote after she had received an official certificate from the probation department telling her it was okay if she registered to vote. 6 years in prison is her sentence. Seriously. Joining us now is Janae Nelson. She is Associate Director Counsel of the NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund. She will be taking over as president of LDF next month. Ms. Nelson, thank you for joining us tonight. I really appreciate you making time to be here.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
I am not a lawyer. I am a person who reads a lot of news. I am surprised that this is not a bigger story nationwide, because this strikes me as bald-faced in its unfairness and outrageousness. And I'll just say that as my opinion. As an attorney, as somebody who knows things like this very, very well, given your work at LDF, is there something here that I am missing? Is there some subtlety or some nuance or piece of this that makes this less outrageous than it seems?
No, it is absolutely as outrageous as you describe it. It points to everything that is wrong in our democracy. It's a confluence of racial discrimination and voter suppression. And we have to ask the question, why do we have laws that prohibit people with felony convictions from voting in the first place? This case is emblematic of all the reasons that we need to do away with those arcane and draconian laws that ultimately disenfranchise 5.2 million Americans. And Black Americans in particular are disenfranchised at a rate of 4 times every other race combined. And what you just pointed out in terms of the individuals who are known to have committed voter fraud, blatant voter fraud, not because of misinformation, not because of an clerical or administrative error on the part of the state, as we've seen in so many cases like Mrs. Moses's, but people who intentionally committed voter fraud, they are sentenced to probation. And individuals like Mrs. Moses, like Crystal Mason out of Texas, whose case was similarly troublesome in this way, like Hervis Rogers, another person out of Texas who was sentenced to prison because of a mistaken belief about his right to vote. It shows that there are 2 systems. There are 2 criminal justice systems, 2 sentencing systems when it comes to these issues. And you could not ask for a more stark contrast about justice in our country.
In the case of Mrs. Moses in Tennessee, she's a voting rights activist. She has been an advocate for the African-American community. She's been a candidate for office. She's somebody who shows up at public meetings and is a sort of a well-known public figure and activist in Memphis. I also took note of the fact that in this case, despite the facts of it, which as we've been talking about, the prosecutor in this case has been press releasing the heck out of this in terms of the prosecution itself, the revocation of her bond. So she's actually been in jail. They held her, through the holidays. She's been in jail since December, awaiting trial for this terrible, awaiting sentencing for this terrible crime. And then when the 6-year sentence was handed down, the prosecutor has been crowing about this. With press releases as if this is something that deserves national attention in a positive way. I wonder if there is some element of this that we should see, not just in terms of its strict legal consequences, but the way this fits into efforts to hype claims of voter fraud in order to justify the kinds of voter suppressive tactics that you were describing.
Yes, I think there is an absolute campaign to drum up the idea and the notion that there are individuals out there who are attempting to vote intentionally when they don't have the right to vote. But if we look at the record of Amy Wire, she has a record that is riddled with allegations of misconduct. And if you look at the facts of this case and look closely at all of the evidence about the efforts that Mrs. Moses made to clarify her status and her ability to vote, there are many questions that I have about whether these are charges that should have been brought in the first place, whether this prosecution should have moved forward, and certainly whether the sentence she received is an appropriate one. Everything in this case smacks of overreach and an effort to make an example of someone. And as I said, we've seen this in many cases before, and you have individuals who, like the Tarrant County Justice of the Peace, Russ Casey out of Texas, who admitted to forging signatures to get on a primary ballot, and he received probation. You contrast that to individuals who are trying to exercise the fundamental right to vote, and we want to criminalize that effort. There's something very wrong with a democracy that seeks to excise people from the electorate, as opposed to welcoming them back, as opposed to giving people second chances and welcoming them into the electoral process.
Well, Shannon, I tell you, this sister is given 6 years. 6 years.
6 years.
Shannon, and I know you have studied this in terms of what Tennessee law is, and I'm gonna just let you tell the people what Tennessee law is, and we see Tennessee has a law like some states of. If you're a convicted felon, you can't vote again. They take your rights away from you, period. You can't vote at all. And there's some states you can even vote while you're in prison if you're a felon.
So in Tennessee, some people with a felony conviction can vote. Some people with a felony conviction cannot vote. Those convicted of murder, rape, treason, or voter fraud are permanently disenfranchised, absent a pardon. For those convicted of other felonies, a certificate of restoration may be obtained from the prison authorities or from the Board of Probation and Parole. Applicants must have paid all court-ordered fines, fees, and restitution, and if applicable, must be current in child support payments. That's Tennessee.
Now, didn't it say that she got the letter?
Said that she got the letter that was saying that it was okay for her to vote. And so she went and voted. Then they came back and say it was an error. So they don't say that her vote was an error, right? So,
Right.
so we said you can vote. You go vote. Oh, that was an error. So okay, then take my vote away, right? Because it was an error.
Right.
They don't do that. They give her what?
6 years.
6 years. No.
But look who she voted for. She voted for Biden.
She voted for
but
Biden.
they voted for Trump.
And she's a Black Lives Matter activist. So in their eyes, Black Lives Matter do matter when you want to target them and disenfranchise us and do all that. But let's talk about them other men. The man in Nevada.
Oh,
got probation.
Probation. Voted for his dead wife.
Voted for his dead wife.
Right.
Ohio, was that the elected official?
That was elected official.
Voted for his father. Didn't know someone like that voted for his father?
Yeah.
So he got
3 days.
3 days.
Now he's an elected official.
He's an elected official.
He's supposed to know about it.
He got 3 days.
3 days.
Then another white man. These are white men.
Right.
Okay. And the white man was in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. And he got probation. Another white man in Pennsylvania got probation. And she got 6 years. So this is straight talk news. This is the way we give it to you. And we point out the stuff that they sweep under the rug.
Absolutely.
Because that's where you want to be watching, the stuff that they sweep under the rug. So we're gonna keep you posted on this story.
Woo! Let me just say something before we leave this.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to a commentator who said several different things. One, as it relates to the Republican Party and how many white male are in the Republican Party and how the white male wants to continue to dominate. Very few white females that are Congress people, that are in Congress, let's say Congress, right? So, as we're looking at the laws that's being passed, and Donald Trump is now pushing racism, the party of the Republican Party, that's what they said, the Republican Party has come out of the closet and they're certainly racist. They're racist. Let's call it what it is, they're racist. And their leader is the head of the racism. They've taken the hoods off, and they're just showing who they are. And when I heard that, I said, "Boy, somebody has." And this is a guy who was a Republican who said he's a Jack Kemp Republican, right? You remember Jack Kemp, right?
Yeah.
And he's a conservative. Mm-hmm. He's not with the racist stuff. Mm-hmm. And there are many who are not with the racist stuff, but there are too many who are sitting back that's silent, that is destroying the Republican Party. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now you want to attract other races into your party, but it appears that you want your party to be ran by nothing but white male, and you want to attack any other race of people, black, whether or they're Asian, whatever they are, you want to attack them because you want to be the party of white superiority, right? So I was like, wow, man, this is deep. And then the other thing the commentator said that blew my mind, and I don't know if you thought about it, thought about it. He said that if Donald Trump is convicted on a criminal charge, Donald Trump will not spend 1 day in jail. Because Donald Trump still has, as the former president of the United States, he still has security, right? He still has security. He will always have that security for the rest of his life, right? So, the only thing they can do, Donald Trump, if they do anything, is security will have to keep him under house arrest or some kind of arrest. I said, BS. And then they came back and said the most hurtful thing for Donald Trump is that they can do is to take his ability to take his finances away from him, his money away from him. Then that's the only thing that's going to make a difference in terms of Donald Trump. Did you hear today or yesterday that Donald Trump came out and endorsed Sonny Perdue? Not Sonny Perdue, but David Perdue. David Perdue is Sonny Perdue's cousin. David Perdue is the same one that when they were talking about how he did employees with Family Dollar. And how he treated those people, but now he's coming out, he's showing you, they're showing you what they care about people, really nothing. It's all about white male superiority and what do they call it, what do women call it? Male chauvinists. So, brothers and sisters, this is straight talk. We ain't on straight talk. And if you open up your eyes to see, you will see really what's going on.
Yeah. What did Putin do yesterday?
Oh.
Yesterday, Putin attacked Ukraine.
He did.
And then he told America, unless you want World War III,
you better
stay out of this.
Yeah, that's what he said.
The whole time Putin was saying, I'm not going to attack them. We're not doing that. But U.S. intelligence was saying he's absolutely doing what he's not saying he's doing. Now, I bring that up because you were talking about Trump.
Right.
Now, if you see how cool hand Luke Putin was yesterday, when he sat there and bombed them at night and did a taped message to his country so that when they woke up, Russia woke up, they could see him saying what he was doing. If you don't think he had anything on Donald Trump, when they walked in that room that day for that meeting and Trump walked out of that room looking like he was bewildered. He stood up there, not like the tough president of the superpower of the world, but he looked like a Millie Mouse pinion next to Putin because they had something and they have something on that man.
Because, quiet as kept, we still believe that they orchestrated and helped him
get elected.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for taking the words to my mouth. I appreciate it.
You got it.
But listen, we're going to get ready to get out of here. We can talk more and more about this, and we'll be back next week to talk more straight talk. Because this is Straight Talk with yours truly, the great Fann, the preacher man, and Shanan E.Jones. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like us, and hit that notification button so every time we come on, you'll get notified that we're on the air because we care. And don't forget to send your news and information to Miss C. That's Miss C at Straight Talk News 1362 at gmail.com. That's Straight Talk News at 1362 at gmail.com. Well, until next week, I guess Shanan will be here with me. He'll be on time. He got his contract signed and everything. Did I give that client contract?
I want to thank my agent.
Did I give you that signed contract?
Who worked diligently.
Did I give you the signed contract?
And told me that I could come back to work.
Did I give it to you?
My agent has it. No. And I want to thank you very much for the diligent work that the agent did to allow me to come back. Sit next to my friend, my great friend. He's my friend, but as long as the contract is right, he's my buddy. But if the contract ain't right, depart from me, I never knew you.
Boy, he's got a contract like you won't believe. It was signed in invisible ink. Until next week, don't forget you ain't tuned to nothing but what? Straight Talk!
Want to be a guest on Straight Talk? email Greg Fann at FANN922@Comcast.net or call 404-308-0795. Join us again for another episode of Straight Talk with Shanan Jones and Greg Fann, the Preacher Man.